Today I'm going to talk about the Black Widow wax-based colored pencil sets. Now, way back in the day when they first started coming out, what was it, 2017, 2018, maybe even before that, I did get the original Black Widow pencil set. That original set actually was much different than the ones that they sell today, in that it didn't have a sealed end on the pencil. All of the new sets, the end of the pencil is sealed with lacquer. So there are a total of 144 colors included over 6 sets. Now their first set was, of course, the Black Widow colored pencil set. And this is the newer set. So they have made improvements. And as you can see, the presentation of their pencils is actually quite beautiful. The Black Widow set is the only one that has the metallic red writing on it. All of the pencils do now have a color name and a color number on them. One of the things that I found very nice, actually, about this set for a lower end pencil set, and when I say lower end, I don't mean that these aren't good pencils. I mean a lower price point. And what that is the way that they present these is very nice, in that when you get them, it's almost like a professional packaging. It's similar to what you would see with Derwent pencils, in that the pencil trays themselves are actually shrink wrapped separately from the lid. Then the lid is put on, and then the entire thing is put inside of a cello bag overwrap. And in the case of their newest set, the Monarch pencil set, that is also put into a cardboard sleeve. Alright, so their first set was the Black Widow. Their second set was the Scorpion. And then they came out with the Cobra set. Now, the interesting thing about the Cobra set is, even though it is a 24 pencil set like the first two, you can see that the container that it's in is just a little bit bigger than what the Black Widow and Scorpion sets are. And again, you can see these are actually a very beautiful pencil. I really like the pencils that come with a black core, which these do. And they put them in just your standard trays. Very easy to lift out on the first two sets. But that said, I did find that with the Cobra set, which I had not had before, I decided to do this review, they changed up the tray, so that's why it's bigger. The tray is a little bigger, but the pencils are pretty hard to get out of there. You actually have to really press down on them to get them to lift out, and they're not easily picked out of there. Now, if that matters to you, but just letting it know for full disclosure. So then they came out with two sets that are skin tone sets. The light skin tones and the dark skin tones. And these went back to an easier to manipulate tray. And just as with all of the others in the sets now, there is a color name and a color number. Now, I do have to say that it's kind of cool, the names that they put on them originally. I'm not sure if that genius marketing person is still there with them, because their names became a little bit more commonplace once they went with their final set, which is the Monarch set. And this is a 48 color set. And as you can see, these are different than all the others in that they have this orange ring around the end that is colored. And actually, let me check here. These, for the skin tone, have a metallic gold ring around them. And the other sets, as you had seen, really don't have anything. They're just solid black. And there are two trays in this one. And I actually have these trays backwards. This was the one on top, but as I was going through them and doing color swatch, I switched them out. So those are all of the sets that are currently available from Black Widow pencils. Now they do have on their website some Lightfast ratings for the skin tone sets, and most of them are very poor Lightfast rating. I would not expect really any of these pencils to be all that Lightfast. They are a lower cost alternative to the more expensive sets, but they do perform very well. Now this is the full color swatch of all of the sets. I'm not sure that I can get this whole thing in the view. They're mostly in the view. And besides, I'm going to bring it up so you can take a look at it. So, of all of the colors, one thing that is nice is I only saw, amongst all of the various sets, two pencils that, to me, they look the same. And that would be this BW 107 Forget Me Not and the MN 056 Ocean. I'm not sure that you can tell on here as well, you know, monitors and film being what it is, but those are the only two that look to be almost identical to me in this entire set. The colors are, for the most part, very smooth. They go down very nice and creamy. They do layer and blend well. One thing that I had noticed, though, is that the consistency really isn't the same from the first two sets, the Black Widow and the Scorpion, to the Cobra and then the Skin Tones and the Monarch. In my opinion, the Monarch are probably the waxiest feeling of the entire set, but they still have a lot of color payout. As you can tell, these are all of the Monarchs. And one of the nice things with the Monarch set is it has a lot of these pastels. So very nice there. But the best set, in my opinion, so far as consistency between one pencil and another, because especially like in the skin tones, I had noticed that there were a few that were slightly scratchy or slightly waxier. But with the Cobra set, which is this one starting here, the third column, the Cobra set was consistently a creamy pencil with a very smooth laydown, and they blended very nicely, they layered nicely, just overall a very nice pencil. So my thought on this is that, you know, if you want to try them out, look at the colors in each of the sets, decide which one is going to work for the kind of artwork you do, and get one, because even though they're not consistent across, they're fairly close enough. But to have the entire set, I must say that I really do like them, and I'm going to be using these a lot in my sketchbooks and just for practice work. They feel to me, I would say probably close to the softness of a Prismacolor, but not quite as soft, which isn't bad, because sometimes Prismacolors are just so creamy that you have to be careful that you don't totally fill the tooth of your paper up. Now, I did start a piece with these using only the two skin tone sets. Now obviously this piece is nowhere near finished. I actually just started today and only have about an hour or so into it. That's one thing that you do want to keep in mind if you are doing colored pencil art, is take your time. Colored pencil art does not, a good piece of art does not happen in just a couple of hours. This piece will more than likely take me at least 8-10 hours to fully finish it, because you have to start out with a very light hand, and that's so important because you don't want to come in dark right from the beginning. Now obviously with the eye, I kind of went in there and I wanted to finish at least a piece of it so you can see how nicely these pencils perform. But if you start very lightly and just go layer after layer of very light color, then you're not going to be as likely to make a mistake. You can also get a much more rich depth of color because you're layering and blending. And that's one thing that these pencils do beautifully. I have probably eight layers in some areas on this already, with 4 or 5 different colors in some of the areas. These pencils, they have such a nice soft touch to them, that the color releases onto the paper with just the slightest amount of pressure. When I began this, which is a portrait of one of my cats, so actually the portrait sets, the skin tone sets are not just for people, because this was done so far with nothing but the 2 skin tone sets. But when I started this, you could barely see the image of the cat. That's how you need to begin if you're going to do a really good piece of colored pencil art, is you start out very lightly and you slowly build your layers. But overall, I would highly recommend this set, any of them, but to get the full set, that would be, I think you should make that your goal, because they are beautiful, beautiful pencils. And one other thing that I would like to add too is that, unlike with some of the lower cost pencils, I did not find, I did not find that the leads crumbled on these much at all. And that's something that you will see in some of the lower end pencils when you apply pressure on the paper as you're layering. A lot of times you'll get these little crumbly bits that come off of the lead. I saw a very slight amount of that in the Monarch set, but nothing like I would normally see in some of the lower end sets. So that was another really nice thing about this set. So again, if you can afford to get the entire 6 sets for the 144 pencils, I seriously think that this would be good for anybody who is really getting into the colored pencil art, or into coloring books even, because this set gives you a feel of a professional pencil, so that you can really get practice work in, so that you can do really excellent pieces in your sketchbook. But again, do not consider these to be a full professional artist pencil, because they're not going to be light fast. And that's so important if you want to do professional work to sell. You certainly don't want to do a beautiful piece, sell it to someone, and then a year later they come back to you and they say, I've had this displayed in my room and the whole thing is faded out. I mean, that is one of the most embarrassing and horrible things that you want to hear as an artist. So take these pencils for what they are, which is a lower end yet artistic feeling quality pencil, that you can use to just do practice pieces, or just for the enjoyment of coloring or doing some sketching work. Just don't expect to use them for your final professional works of art that you would want to sell.